Kids deserve to have an active education. The way that our world is shaping up today doesn't prepare them for anything. It doesn't get them ready for the world that they're going to enter.
For me personally, I have noticed when I'm in a class that is structured around project-based learning, I have been able to gain a deeper understanding of the material and have therefore been able to discover my passion.
I definitely learn more in a project-based environment because I can put what I know down into a project rather than someone just speaking to me for an hour and a half, where me with ADHD, I can just lose focus very quickly and just zone out. With a lecture, I lose everything it goes in one ear and out the other because I just lose focus very quickly. But with a project, it's something that I can always go back to and look at, or while I'm doing it, it's pen to paper, so I know that it's focusing, it's going through my head as I write it.
I think that a project-based learning classroom is much better than a lecture classroom. That's not to say that there's no place at all for talking in front of the students or delivering 15 minutes of lecture to introduce a chapter or that sort of thing. I mean, I think that there's still a place for that sort of group discussion, but it has to be a group discussion.
I'm big on constructivist models, project-based learning, because I think when you're actually engaged in something and you're doing it, there's a different type of connection you have to it. I also know in terms of neuroscience, experience trumps everything in terms of how learning happens. And so thinking about the way the brain works, kids learn better, humans learn better when they're actually immersed and involved in creating and discovering and exploring.
Specifically, new media at the high school is one class that is constructed around project-based learning, and through this class I have discovered what I love to do and what I want to do in the future, and that is to tell visual stories. I have learned so much about business and media and creating conversations and networking, and I think I've also learned a lot about myself through this class.
I think when students aren't focused on the grade, that learning environment is just infinitely better. You have this sense of comfort and excitement too in the classroom when the focus isn't on, oh my gosh, did I get an A, did I get an A, oh my gosh, should I fail? And so when you're making that classroom way more open and engaging in a way that they're focused on, okay, where can I take this knowledge now? Not just for the test, not just for the paper, but where can I use this here and now, but then also apply it later on in my life. When it's not so focused on the grade, they're actually, becoming these lifelong learners, which is ultimately what we want out of our students.
Today we are calculating how much of a horse the students are. We've been working on calculating work and energy and power, and so the students are walking and running upstairs today to then calculate how much horsepower they have.
I think that the learning that students come out of with the project-based approach, it's usually there's some student choice involved, and there's some studies that say that improves motivation. There's ownership. Students can derive deeper meaning of the concepts, especially if they're experiencing them, even discovering them.
I can't believe that for so many years, so many students have been so willing to sit quietly in a torture device of a desk for 6-7 hours a day just listening, and then being told that if they needed to move around or if they needed to speak out or talk, that was some sort of like a discipline infraction, when really probably a lot of that was just a result of total boredom.
For the future, I hope to see more project-based learning classes and maybe have students demonstrate a skill and not just recite data on a test. I think the majority of things people are doing in their jobs are actual projects, so I think it would be really helpful if students, when they are in middle school and high school, to be in a project-based learning environment, so when they do get into the real world, they feel prepared and ready for that.
The first thing I think that we all need to do is start to convince kids that this isn't the way that they'll actually achieve success. I think that in a lot of ways, the school system right now is set up for the convenience of adults. The learning of the future is more interdisciplinary. I think it's more students' needs-based, and I think it's way more technology-based. What I fear is that people will look at it as just a way to cut budgets. So they'll take a look and say, well, kids can just learn this stuff online, which I do not think is true. We need to figure out ways to connect them with things that they're good at, things that they're interested in, things that they like, and then we need to help fill in a foundation of education around that. How we do that, I think it's going to look different next year. I think it's going to look different in 5 years. But if that's our core belief, then we'll be able to adjust. And I think we need to look at it from the standpoint of what's best for the students and how they learn, and getting them enthusiastic and passionate about what it is that they care about.
I love that students are creating a space for this to be their school. And I love that students are exploring who they are, socially, emotionally, and in terms of various parts of their identity. It's so important for every kid in this district to feel a sense of belonging. It's hard to fit in, it's hard to be included, and I don't think anyone should have to try to fit in or be included. The place that Lake Forest becomes should be all about the kids making it what it is. So you're not trying to become something else, you are what it is here. And so I believe that no one should walk in this place and have to feel like they have to change a part of who they are, that they have to leave parts of their identities outside. I think we need to create a space where everyone can show up authentically and that the culture and climate forms around who all of our kids are.
I was that girl. There was once a little girl who loved to go to school. She learned about letters, numbers, and the world around her. Her kindergarten classroom was filled with colorful paints and crayons, tables were formed in circles, and lessons were taught through hands-on activities. She was naturally driven by the joy of wanting to learn. She was intrinsically motivated. But as she got older, those paints and crayons were replaced by number 2 pencils, and the projects were replaced by worksheets, pop quizzes, and standardized tests. So this colorful classroom was transformed into these really exciting rows of desks. The little girl became a letter grade, a percentile, and a number on a test. The current day in high school is divided up into 40, 50-minute blocks. Bells ring, students rush from one class to the next, and they're taught to ace the test at the end of the unit. And that's all an organizational device, not an educational principle. I want to help drive this movement, to help inspire and empower communities across the country to revolutionize the way students learn in school. This movement is happening, and Lake Forest needs to move with it. It's time to move education into the 21st century. My hope is to have students, parents, educators, and policymakers take a stand for the academic potential of every young person, helping them succeed and revolutionize education through project-based learning. All students learn by either seeing, hearing, or doing. They may learn better one way, but when all three are combined, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, it creates this thing called a project-based learning environment. Project-based learning, or PBL, is where kids are in an active classroom. So less lecturing and more doing. It's proven that students can remember and recall information better when taught this way. They're able to discover their passions, build communication skills, and connect with their community more. This will also help engage and motivate students with learning disabilities. Schools across the country have already begun implementing PBL into their curriculums, but more need to make this change. High Tech High, a high school located in California, is just one example. It's a school that's completely project-based. High Tech High fully meets the nation's education standards and actually ranks towards the top in raw scores on California standardized tests. At the end of each school year, all family members, friends, business owners, and community members attend the school to see some of the best projects from the year. This then generates interest and excitement, and then ultimately contributes to fundraising. Lake Forest High School has sort of begun to make this change. New media at LFHS is one example of a class that is constructed around PBL. New media is where students learn how to make videos, tell visual stories, build communication skills, and connect with their community. Kids can also grow and learn leadership skills through the Teacher's Assistant program. So once students have taken the class for more than one semester, they have the ability to become a TA. So students can actually learn through helping others. Scout Stories is yet another unique opportunity this class has to offer. Scout Stories is a program through the class that allows kids to make videos for local organizations and companies around their community. I've been creating promotional videos for a local theater company, Citadel Theater, for over a year now. And I also recently made a video for Lake Bluff Public Schools to gain fundraising to add a new building onto the school, and the video raised over $10,000. I've been able to discover my passion and make an impact because I'm in a class that values the process more than the end product. Other classes at LFHS have also begun to make this change. Math class, it's about finding the answer and the end product and getting an A, not necessarily going through a process and working on the problem to allow the student to learn in a variety of ways. So for so long, there's been this sort of unbalance in classes, and LFHS is just beginning to skim the surface and find that balance. PBL works great in art classes like new media, but it also works great in math and science and English and history too. LFHS's new schedule next year will also allow for more creativity, opportunity, and flexibility. Our education system was designed in 1893, and since then, really not that much has changed. Education has to take into account what the economy is looking like. And part of the problem is that our education system is rooted in the old industrialized age of the 19th century, where students were taught by learning a series of instructions. We aren't rooted in the new economy of the 21st century. It's why so many employers are complaining that so many well and standard educated kids still lack the real life experiences to fill the job vacancies. The majority of things people are doing in their jobs today are projects. So why aren't students in a project-based learning environment in school that better reflects today's job market? This simple PBL solution would align students more accurately with the real world. Project-based learning isn't something that would just be nice to do. This is about the very essence of Lake Forest, surrounding communities, Illinois, and our nation's future. By taking these actions, hopefully one day, that little girl, like me, will love to go to school again. Thank you.